While I was questioning this doctor in the medical malpractice deposition, a pretrial question and answer session, the doctor's attorney kept objecting to virtually every single question that I asked. Can she do that? Can she object to every single question, or almost every single question? You want to know the answer? Come join me for a moment as I share with you exactly what I'm talking about. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. All right, I was questioning a doctor in a medical malpractice case. I had an opportunity to question him, to learn from him, before we ever got to trial, about what he did and why, what was going through his mind, why he ordered certain tests, why he did certain things, and importantly, why he didn't do certain things. Okay, so now during the course of this questioning, and by the way, this takes place in the attorney's office, in his conference room, in her conference room, and there's no judge there, and there's no jury there. Instead, it's the doctor, his attorney, and myself, and a court stenographer. And the court stenographer, we call them court reporters, is there to record all of my questions and all of the doctor's answers. So now, every single time I would ask the doctor a question, the defense attorney would chime in and say, "Objection!" Go ahead, you can answer that question. And you know what I did? Absolutely nothing. I didn't do a single thing in response to those objections. You want to know why? Because those objections were meaningless. I've been doing this now 31 years, and I have to tell you, when I see a defense attorney objecting to every single one of my questions, it tells me there's a problem. It tells me that the defense attorney is not a trial attorney. It tells me that the defense attorney is doing something out of a knee-jerk reaction, believing in her own mind that objecting to every single question is somehow protecting her client so that if we ever get to trial, now her constant objections are going to help her when now that objection is raised at the time of trial when I ask the same identical question. Meanwhile, she won't be the one trying the case, so she won't really realize how ineffective it is to object to every single question. Now, I will share with you that there were a few instances where the attorney actually did raise some valid objections. It came up when I was asking the doctor a series of hypothetical questions about his opinions and what went on in this particular case. Doctor, I want you to assume that this patient had different treatment, specifically that he was given the following medication. Do you have an opinion with a reasonable degree of medical probability as to whether the patient's outcome would have been different if he had received the following medication a day earlier? So now the attorney actually makes the proper objection. He says, "Objection. I object to that because that's not what happened in this case, and there are no facts to suggest that that's what happened." And you know what? She's absolutely right. But then you might ask yourself, then why would I ask such a question? Why would I ask such a hypothetical question? I ask it because I need to know from the doctor whether if certain treatment had been rendered that we are claiming should have been done, whether it would have altered or changed the patient's outcome. I'm entitled, I'm allowed to ask that type of opinion question. The doctor whom we've sued is deemed to be a medical expert. Even though we don't consider him a medical expert, the law looks at him as somebody who's educated, somebody who's gone through lots of training, and they consider him to be a medical expert for the purposes of being questioned, which means a couple of things for me. It means I can ask the doctor leading questions. I don't have to ask him open-ended questions that says, "Doctor, explain why," or "Tell us what you did, and explain to us why you did that." Instead, I can ask him short, leading questions designed to elicit a yes or no answer. Plus, the doctor has to answer those opinion questions as a medical expert because he has the knowledge and expertise to give me that answer. Doctor, I want you to assume that if the patient had been sent to another hospital and he had received appropriate treatment at that time, do you have an opinion with a reasonable degree of medical probability whether this patient would be alive today? Objection, she said, when I asked the doctor a hypothetical question, and now he turns around and says, "I don't know if the outcome would have been different." To me, that's a great response. You want to know why? Because it tells me that the doctor does not have a true understanding as to whether if certain things were done differently that we are arguing should have been done, whether the patient's outcome would have been different, whether it would have been altered. Now the jury will have to evaluate who they believe. And if they believe our version of the facts, now I will have already gotten the doctor to explain and tell the jury in his own words that yes, if these things were done, yes, the outcome would have been different. So getting back to the title of this video, the fact that this defense attorney kept objecting over and over and over again, how did I deal with it? 99% of the time, I did absolutely nothing and simply ignored it and continue to ask the doctor my questions. So why do I share this with you? I share this with you just to give you an inside look as to what really happens in these medical malpractice cases here in New York. You know, I realize you likely have questions or concerns about the medical care and treatment you received. Well, if you believe that a doctor was careless or hospital staff was careless and caused you injury, and your matter happened here in New York, and you have not yet started a lawsuit, and have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions like yours every single day, and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.